Alright, today let's talk about the Apple MacBooks. Nope, not the MacBook Air. Also, nope, not the MacBook Pro. But actually is what behind all this mess of MacBooks is this, the Apple MacBook. Just a MacBook without any suffix. Well, if you have heard any news from Apple, you must know that they are transitioning from Intel-based Macs into their in-house Apple Silicon. And according to the rumors, one of the first Macs using Apple Silicon will be the MacBook without any suffix. So I think now is the best time to look at the MacBook that first started this unibody design trend when Apple is still using in some ways now in 2020. What is up guys, this is Maxwell from Answer Tech, and let's take a look at the story of the Aluminum Unibody MacBooks. Believe it or not, the MacBook lineup of Apple laptops without any suffix are one of the most popular Apple products back in, well, when it's still popular. MacBooks are known for its durability and the relatively low price tag. If you take a look at the current MacBook market, you will see that there are only two series of MacBooks, the higher-end MacBook Pro and the slightly lower-end MacBook Air. Yes, MacBooks are known for its slick design carved out of the same sheet of aluminum, but what you probably don't know is that Apple laptops weren't like this before. In 2006, when Apple released their first MacBook, it was using an all-polycarbonate shell, which is just plain white plastic, with the model number A01. Yes, they did release a black version of the same model too, but that's not what we're focusing on today. And at that time, the higher-end MacBook Pros are indeed using aluminum, however, it's constructed using multiple pieces of aluminum, causing its shells to deform significantly after any harder impacts. And it's just overall not durable. So Apple needed to create a whole new design language, and in 2008, they released this, the Aluminum Unibody MacBook. When you look at it, you may think, isn't it just the old pre-Retina MacBook Pro? Well, I'll say you're not wrong, because all of the MacBook Pros from 2009 all the way to 2012 share the same design, and even the model number A1278 as the 2008 Aluminum MacBook. True, how ironic is to see the most iconic MacBook Pro design isn't even from a MacBook Pro. Here, I have a 2011 13-inch MacBook Pro here for comparison. You can see that they are mostly the same if not identical. On the left side, the ports are really similar to each other. On the right side, the similarity still continues. On the top, you can't even notice any difference. And on the bottom shell, the 2008 model has this latch and a removable battery door, which the 2011 model doesn't have. So now you may think, wow, if this is such a popular design on the MacBook, why didn't I see this particular MacBook being refreshed after 2008? Well, Apple actually didn't continue this design on the refreshed MacBooks. Instead, they designed a whole new MacBook released in 2009, the A1342, also known as the Plastic Unibody MacBook. Why? Because they used the A1278 Aluminum Unibody MacBook design on the next MacBook Pro. In fact, there isn't a 13-inch option for the MacBook Pro before 2009. All the models are 15 and 17 inches. When Apple released the Aluminum MacBook, they saw the opportunity to transform this into another model of the higher-end Pro lineup, calling it the 13-inch MacBook Pro instead. But they still continues to use the A1278 model number, so the 2008 Aluminum MacBook became one of the rarest MacBooks of all time, only being produced for 1 year. I got my hands on a 2008 Aluminum Unibody MacBook for only 80 Canadian dollars. But it's in non-working condition. When it came, it does not detect an operating system. After some inspection, I figured out it's just a hard drive failure, so I put in this 500GB hard drive as salvage from a non-working MacBook Pro instead. Yes, I didn't went for an SSD because it will make such a big difference considering the age of this MacBook. This is such a good deal to get my hands on the rarest MacBook of all time. So what did I get for $80? Well, inside the MacBook there's an 2.0 GHz Intel Penryn quad-dual processor, 4GB of RAM, the 500GB hard drive I put in, a 38-inch display at 1280 by 800 resolution, and well, a battery that is 1 barely usable, lasting around an hour at most. 2, it's also not an original Apple battery. Taking apart this MacBook is fairly easy. The latch on the bottom is one of the best design I've ever seen from Apple. There is no need to remove any screws to access the battery and the hard drive bay. However, any further tasks apart from replacing the battery will need a standard Phillips screwdriver, but it's still much better and easier and durable than the pendulum screws that Apple uses nowadays. Unscrewing the rest of screws, we can lift up the entire bottom aluminum plate and revealing what is inside this MacBook. Here we have the RAM bay with a pair of 2GB DDR3 RAMs in it. There is nothing too much to take a look at inside here. Reassembling this MacBook is as easy as taking it apart. Just put the cover on, screw the screws back on, and then we can just put the battery door clip in and press it down. So, how's it like to use this MacBook in 2020, 12 years after its original launch? Well, overall it's not that bad. Sure, it's definitely slow and the OS is forever stuck on OS X 10.11 El Capitan as the highest version supported, which is already 5 versions out of date. Aside from all those, it is still surprisingly usable considering its age. I have loaded some Adobe softwares on it. As you can see here, if I want, I can still edit some photos using Adobe Photoshop. Well, it will take some time just for it to load, but after it's loading, it's actually pretty smooth. Also, I can do some light video productions using Adobe Premiere Pro. To use Premiere Pro, you need to wait kind of a long time before the program can actually load on. Well, that is because the low and low power Core 2 Duo processor inside. This keyboard is still as good as when it's new. It's still one of my favorite Apple-made keyboards to this day. However, the lack of backlight keyboard is a pain in the neck when you want to use it with a less lit environment. On the gaming side, one thing that you need to keep in mind, like when dealing with these old MacBooks, is that they aren't meant to be used as a gaming laptop like whatsoever. Even the 13-inch MacBook Pros only had integrated graphics card. So I would just going to be testing out Minecraft anyways, since it is like the only game I know how to play on this kind of form factor in like a computer and stuff. I don't play much games. It will take some time just to load on, just to get into the title screen. Yeah, I got a Minecraft Java edition, 1.16.1, and let's just fire up my new world that I created. It's a creative mode. Because I'm a noob, so I don't play in survival mode. I just want to like craft some stuff in it. It would take some time. It would take like a long time. Still on 29%. Oh, it's 92 now. Okay, come on, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It will go into the game really soon. Oh, this is taking longer than I thought. Yeah, just need to like give it some time. You know, like this is a 12 years old MacBook. Just give him some respect, like treating an old man. Yeah, once you load it into the game, it's actually pretty playable. You can see scrolling around. Yeah, the generation of some of the blocks are really slow because of the weak graphics processor and the weak processor, the CPU, the Core 2 Duo, and the really not powerful NVIDIA 9400M, I think, is the graphics card inside this machine. Yeah, you can see like the gameplay is really smooth and the frame rates are decent. I consider like any game that can have a frame rate of like over 30 frames per second playable. Well, you are watching this video likely from 30 frames per second aspect anyways, so yeah, it is fairly smooth scrolling around. I would definitely consider this playable. Minecraft isn't such a graphics demanding game anyways. Maybe like I can mine some blocks in it. I will not like demonstrate too much in this. Now, let's hear for the conclusion. The 2008 Aluminum Unibody MacBook is one of the rarest MacBook of all time, and it still can be considered usable in 2020. Just as it was said in Terminator,
I'm old, not obsolete.
However, here's the question, should you get one yourself? Well, it really depends on what you're going to plan on doing with it. I wouldn't recommend using it daily as your main laptop, obviously considering its age and the weak battery. Even a brand new battery won't last very long. But if you just want one of these in your collection or you just came across one for cheap, I would say definitely buy it because this particular model is getting harder and harder to find every day. Well, that is all for today. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get immediate notification when my new video drops. Again, this is Maxwell from Answer Tech, and I'll see you soon in the next episode of Old But Not Obsolete. Peace.